With this very simple modification that I'm going to show you, I've managed to turn these inexpensive dial indicator holder arms into something much nicer that's like one of the more expensive dial indicator arms, like a NOGA arm. This feature is especially useful for when using these arms as helping hands for electronics, because it allows you to backdrive the arm without the arm loosening or tightening. So these cheap dial indicator arms, when you move the arm around, so if I start the arm off tight here and then I swivel it down, it gets loose and floppy. And then if I swivel it the other way, it gets super tight. So you can't backdrive the arm without it loosening or tightening on you. Now, I noticed that a high-end expensive arm like a NOGA arm doesn't do that. When you move this arm, you backdrive it, notice how the knob stays stationary and doesn't move. And it doesn't loosen or tighten. And this is a really nice feature because it allows you to move the arm into any position by backdriving the arm and then locking it in place. Now for dial indicator work, I don't find this quite as necessary because I usually just move the arm into the position I want, lock it down, and then use the fine-tune adjustment. However, for other work where backdriving it and moving it manually into position is desirable, this is a much nicer arm. But this NOGA arm also costs around $100, so it would not be practical to make a set of helping hands with these NOGA arms because you'd end up spending $200 minimum up to $400 if you wanted 4 arms. These inexpensive dial indicator arms, they cost as low as about $18 for the small one and $20 for a large one. But the large one has the same issue. If you backdrive the arm, it gets loose and it gets tight. So now it's loose and then it tightens the other way. Well, sometimes now it's just all loose. So the tightness doesn't stay consistent like the NOGA arm does. I was curious to how the NOGA arm avoids loosening or tightening when you backdrive the arm, and I suspected there was a thrust bearing somewhere in here. So if we take apart this knob, you can't see it very well, but if you look down this crack, you can see some ball bearings on there. So there's a thrust bearing inside of the plastic knob. And that thrust bearing allows the internal threaded shaft to turn independently of this outer cylinder. So I thought, well, okay, all I need to do is to be able to add a thrust bearing to this to allow the arm to backdrive without tightening or loosening. What is the easiest way I could do that? And the absolute easiest would be to be able to find a thrust bearing that you could sandwich in this gap. But you'd probably still have to remove a little bit of material on this cylindrical piece here to have enough space for the thrust bearing and still have enough threads to thread onto. These small arms are actually really nice because they have a metal knob here versus the plastic knob of the larger arm. So what I thought is it would be very easy to machine this knob and the cylindrical piece here to accept a standard skate bearing like this. This is a standard size skate bearing, a 608 RS. Now rollerball bearings like this are not designed to support heavy thrust loads. However, they can support light thrust loads, especially at low RPMs, because they're designed primarily for radial loads at high RPMs. But at static or low RPMs like this, it's fine to put a thrust load on there, and this is not a critical application where if it fails, something's going to go wrong, so it's not a big deal. So what I did is to machine off a shoulder on the tightening cylindrical piece that goes over the screw, and that's the one that pushes on another shaft that goes in this direction that pushes on this ball to lock out the lower arm. And that shoulder is just big enough for the bearing to fit on, like that. And then I removed the shoulder on the thumb wheel and recessed a little bit such that this thumb wheel can't touch the center race of the ball bearing. It's only going to touch the outer race. And then it provides smooth thrust motion. So now when the arm is back driven, it doesn't loosen or tighten. it stays the same tightness, which is super nice. So you can set the arm a little bit loose, and then you can just back drive it, move it into whatever position you want, and then tighten it down if necessary. What I also noticed is that the tightening and loosening is much smoother. And with the bearing, you can get it a lot tighter than the standard one without the bearing. So you can really lock this down. And in using this, I haven't seen any issues with the bearing. I also did the same thing with the larger arm, but with the larger arm, I had to make my own thumb wheel because the larger arm comes with a plastic thumb wheel. And I am going to show how to use a bearing with the plastic thumb wheel, but it still requires a lathe. So if you're going to have to use a lathe anyways, making a thumb wheel is a much more elegant solution. So now with the thumb wheel, the arm can be back driven to any position, and it does not loosen or tighten. It feels exactly like the NOGA arm. It's really nice. And again, once you're into position, you can tighten it way more than you can without the bearing. So right now it's super stiff and solid. This one is made the same way as the smaller arm. This tightening cylinder with a bevel on it that pushes down on the rod, that pushes down on the ball down here. I took this and machined a shoulder down so it would fit nicely for the ball bearing. And then the thumb wheel I made, I relieved the center area so it wouldn't touch the center race of the bearing, it would only touch the outer race. And it would give it a nice smooth motion and thrust. Feels super smooth.